Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Boldly Growing. And today, in this episode, I'm going to be speaking to Dave Scholes from Mindsight. So, Dave and I probably met only about 18 months ago.
Yeah,
Not that long ago, but I feel we've got to know each other really well in a short space of time, and that says a lot about the type of guy that Dave is just really open. But what I love about Dave is he's an ideas person. He's always coming up with new ideas, and we're on the same wavelength because he's all about well-being and helping people to be mentally well. And so today, listen to this podcast. You're going to get some insight into Dave's world, and you're going to learn some top tips for yourself on how you can keep well, mentally well, and also that you can share with other people in your business and in your family and friends as well. So there we go. So welcome, Dave Scholes.
Thank you very much.
To my podcast, and thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest.
Pleasure.
So tell us then, where have you had to boldly grow Mindsight? Tell us about how you started it up, why you started it up, please.
Okay, yeah. Probably, to be honest, it's the boldest thing that I've ever done. So that's a good start, isn't it?
It's a great start. Yeah, thank you for that.
We can work with that. So yeah, Mindsight came on the back of probably 8 or so years of having this idea bubbling inside me on the back of my own personal story and about kind of mental health and well-being. You know, we've talked, you know that I lost somebody really close to me to suicide. You know, kind of my background with working with lads in crisis and all these kind of things that I did to not only help myself but to help other people and to really learn from the journey that I went through for my own health and well-being. And, you know, I'm not an expert in this. I'm not a counsellor. I don't profess to be any sort of psychologist, but I've got, I guess, my own experience and my own story. And I knew kind of deep down in me that the horrendous situation that I'd been through needed to become something positive, needed to become a legacy, and I'll be honest, I had absolutely no idea what that looked like. As I kind of went through my experience of people helping me and having a load of good people around me and loads of great advice, I thought, you know what, there's some value in my journey that other people may have been really fortunate not to go through, but might one day. You know, there's no postcode on mental health. It can happen to anybody.
No, it doesn't discriminate, does it?
No, not at all. You know, and I think the more I invested in this and the more time I spent kind of upskilling myself in this, the more I realised that the concept of Mindsight was something that I really wanted to do. But as you know, I've always worked for other people. You know, I've had my own business, so I've always freelanced into other people's dreams and other people's visions. And I've always seen myself as a facilitator. I've never called myself an entrepreneur or anything like that. So in October of last year, we kind of got to a place, I guess, in my world where a lot of things had finished all at the same kind of time. And I thought, if I don't do it now, I probably never will do it.
Yeah.
You know, the money stopped. I had a lovely little plan of maybe doing a little bit of freelance work and all this kind of stuff and starting this idea. Literally everything stopped on one day.
Yeah.
And I went, do you know what? The only thing that's holding me back is money.
Yeah.
Is that a big deal?
Yeah.
Maybe it is a little bit, but I just have this thing, Les, of going, this is what I'm meant to do.
I absolutely remember that day sitting in Mr. Gatti's tea room with you, and you telling me that, you know, you were moving on and this is what I'm going to be doing. And I remember sitting there and thinking, wow, you know, I've no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds good, you know.
And I don't think I had any idea what I was talking about either, to be honest. And I probably spent the first 2 months from the back end of October, early November to the end of the year, going, I just need to invest in creating some space for this to become what it becomes. You know, I was sitting in front of people going, I want to save the world.
Yeah,
And I genuinely meant it, and I still do, because it just feels, I think when you get something that you know you're meant to do, a lot of the key bits that sometimes hold you back suddenly become removed. So, you know, finance is a big deal, isn't it? You know, I know that this being a successful business will help me to help more people. That's what I want to do it for. Now, if I don't have a successful business, I'm just a nice lad from Burnley having a few nice conversations. That doesn't help people with their well-being and their mental health. So it's got to be structured. And, you know, even on this journey over the last kind of 9 months, you know, we plan to launch Mindsight in March with a face-to-face delivery program. And we didn't. We kind of held it back for a month. And in that month, COVID hit. And we had everything planned and everything ready to go. And we put 6 months of time and effort into it. And everything just flipped. And I had probably a month of just going, I don't know what to do. You know, everybody that's already got established well-being stuff, you know, I had this heart for really wanting to do something positive, but felt that I'd missed my space. You know, all the people telling me that the 5 things to do from home and how to work from home and all these tips popping up and all these people with brilliant digital platforms already set up. And I stopped believing in myself, I think, until we started, you know, we sort of flipping the focus is our tagline. And I genuinely had to do that for myself and went, right, okay, I'm not the expert in the same way that everybody sees, but how does somebody know what the top 5 tips to me working from home are if they don't know me? So I thought, why, instead of trying to answer all the questions, why don't we start finding out what the questions are? And that's, you know, that's a big change in approach.
Massive. And like we'll come on to look at that next, but I just want to just go back to what you've said there, because there's some really key things there for me, for people who might be listening to this and thinking, oh, I've got this idea, but I ain't got the money for it right now. And what you're saying about those things that can get in the way and do get in the way and stop us from moving forward and taking action to make things happen, you didn't let that hold you back, you know. And I love that kind of, like you say, that bold mindset to say, well, I'm just going to do it and I'll see.
And to be honest, that's not me. In the nicest fashion, I really had to get out of my own way, because I'm ducks in a row. The discomfort of this situation was massive. You know, I like to have, I mean, I remember sitting in front of my accountant and telling him what I was going to do. And this is the accountant that knows I've got, you know, 3, 4, 5 months worth of stuff in the bank ready to do this, that, and the other. I said, look, I might not have this, you know, this nice, easy accounts that I give you at the end of the year. I might not have that. And I'm very uncomfortable with that. And his response was, yes, so am I, but we'll have a go. And I think the thing that I've learned is, as you said, I'm quite open, mate. I decided from the outset that I'd start sharing this stuff as openly as I could, because I know I've benefited so much from telling my own story and how that's helped me. But I thought, if somebody nicks the idea, they'll just go and help loads more people. So that's all right.
That's a win.
Yeah, and if I start to build relationships, I can't save the world on my own. And I think when you see big picture, and you know, somebody said to me the other day, you know, the Avengers, there's a group of them, they don't just do it solo, they've all got the strength and they've all got the weaknesses. And I thought, do you know what, the things that I'd been nervous about that I didn't do, I could find all those people. I could find counsellors because I found them for myself, and I could find the experts because I found, and I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of work with the NHS, so I knew those kind of routes. And I thought, actually, stop trying to be something that you're not. run in the lane that you're meant to run in, and make yourself approachable enough to get around people and say, look, what can I do for you? Rather than saying, what can you do for me? And that's what I did in the first 2 months. I had hundreds of conversations, all of which were really useful, some of which resonated and have stuck, and the people that are still doing things with us today. Others were just good conversations for one cup of coffee, but they all had some part in this journey. And I just put myself out there, and I think
that's been key to your success so
massively.
far, is that you've just talked to people. It's that whole thing of, you've got this, for me, you've got this fire inside you, and it's like, you know, I'm going to do this and nothing's going to get in my way. Do you want to come with me?
Yeah.
And when people are burning like that, you know, you kind of want to be around them. So for me, that's what I see so far as part of your success, is that you've built these relationships and people want to get involved.
It's genuine.
Yeah, that's
I think it is. It's because it's a genuine thing, and you know, there's some power in story and there's some power in heart, and even now, I was having a conversation last week with somebody that was probably one of the first people that I talked to about this. And when we were starting the early days of the gym, I was always wanting to put somebody else at the front of this. And he kept saying to me, Dave, you're the face of this. And I was so uncomfortable with that, because I've never been the face of anything.
No.
I'm not uncomfortable talking to people, and I'm quite happy to stand in front of a room if I'm prepped and I'm ready and it's on my terms. But I wasn't ready to be the face of the thing that was this burning passion.
I know.
You know, I got around people that I thought were better than me at this, and I wanted them to front it. But, you know, taking the time and being bold in yourself as well as bold in what you do, I've actually started to believe a little bit of my own hype, and that's not a cocky thing. It's the thing.
No, but it's that belief, isn't it? It's that belief, like you're saying. I think that's obviously where you had to grow through when COVID hit, and it could have just been, well, this can't happen now, so we'll just shelve it. We'll just shelve that idea, and I'll go back to designing people's you know, websites and marketing, and help them with their branding. And I'll just put that.
An easy win.
It would have been easy to do that, but you didn't do that. So, you know, all credit to you for having that belief in yourself, and you've got to. So tell us what it is then, I guess. So I know, because I've been to some of your roast and toast sessions, and they're brilliant. And like yesterday's session, I couldn't get to, and I do feel like I've missed it. You know, I miss the fact that I've not been to it. So it's definitely that thing that people love being a part of. But tell us what it is.
Yeah, so we set up Mindsight initially to basically educate and help people with all aspects of mental health and well-being. So we want to be culture change. We don't want to be just a little token kind of tick box exercise that a workplace does. And we didn't just want to be workplace well-being. You know, people have lives. Some people are great in work, rubbish at home. Some people are rubbish at work, great at home. You know, my background's in the charitable sector. I know that people that work there need this as much as anybody else. Education's a massive element. But what we had at the start of COVID was all that stuff kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
And I thought, wonder what's the simplest thing that we could do to get people talking about this element of well-being. And a lot of my best conversations were over a brew with a mate or over a pint, where they just went, you know what, Dave, I don't know what you're going through. I've never experienced it, but I'm just here for you. And I thought that was really powerful one-to-one. I wonder what would happen if we tried to create something like that we invited people to. So created roast and toast, obviously coffee beans and the toast was the beer bit. I thought, let's go with that.
Love it.
Let's just create this hour space where we talk about relevant things in and around mental health. But again, back to the flipping the focus, I didn't want to do, right, today's session's on anxiety, today's session's on X, Y, and Z. I thought that's a thing that would make me uncomfortable. So we look at a topic. So we did courage the other week, being less Lion from the Wizard of Oz, being more Liam Gallagher. That's how we did it. You know, we talk about mindset being well-being with a swagger. That's what we want to do. And again, it's not a cocky thing, but we want to educate the mind, and we want to educate the head with information and tips from how to, you know, look after yourself and look after the people around you. It starts with yourself, but at some point, you've got to engage your heart. You know, to say you're not doing great takes a bit of confidence.
It does.
And to do the same for other people and say you're there for them, even though you don't understand. And that's the heart bit. You know, your head at some point has to take the information you've got, switch off a little bit and go, right, I'm doing this. And I thought, you know what? Safe space to have these conversations, comfortable conversations, is what we do. And I cannot believe what Roast and Toast has done in the last 6 months.
I know. Well, what a commitment every single week, isn't it? On a Wednesday, people want to come along, and it's from 9:30 till 10:30, isn't it? Every Wednesday morning. And how would they find out about it?
So we're all about connection. So Mindsight Connect is our social media platform. So anything, LinkedIn, Instagram, all these kind of things. If you direct message on there, we have a link into Zoom. It's a really simple Zoom chat. But the strength of it is, Liz, that you can come as you are. That's our statement.
Yeah, I love
so if you
that.
want to just come and sit and listen, you can, and there's no judgment on that. If you want to come in and be the loudest person in the room, great. We can manage that a little bit. If you're the quietest person in the room, we can bring you into the fold. You know, the hints and tips of stuff that we go away, but the strength of the event as a whole is we've created this support network where people are just helping each other. You know, this isn't about me or the other guys coming in and giving you a load of tips for 45 minutes and then we all go home. This is about us opening up questions and conversation where people are helping other people. You know, and people are finding this that I've never met, and they're coming in week one and going, how have you created this? And I said, I've just been myself. I've just come in and we've resonated with people that need somewhere to be positive. And it's you know, people, the responses we're getting from people are that it's changed the way they do the business. It's changed the way they start the week. This is the biggest thing they look forward to in the week. And I'm like, really? Is it? And the more I've sat and taken that in, the more it's actually true, because I'm exactly the same. I look forward to it every week, because if you go into a space of 25 positive people and they're not all coming in every week in a brilliant place.
No, and I've seen that as well, and it's good that people feel able to disclose that, you know, and be open about it, because it is a safe space.
Yeah, and it's people in an environment with real people, being honest and being open. And you know, it's fun. That the thing about it is, you know, a lot of mental health topics are horrendous. They're tough topics. You know, you can't play around with topics like suicide and self-harm. That's not. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't normalize these conversations. I like to see myself as a bit of an upbeat character. If every time I talk about mental health and well-being, I drop my tone down, it makes me different when I talk about that. If we can come in and have some, you know, positive, upbeat conversation whilst talking about some tough stuff, then actually this culture thing that we're talking about, it normalizes it.
It's the energy, isn't it? That's what I think. It's the energy that you can bring. I also wanted to ask you, because I think what's really positive for me, and what I've noticed about Roast and Toast, is that actually there's a lot of men that come along to these sessions and talk openly about their feelings. Now, that is not something that you see every day.
No, it's not.
And I'm wondering, you know, obviously with you being a man and setting this up, maybe that's what's encouraged some men to come along. And I know this is kind of something personally that's probably important to you as well. So I wondered if you could talk to that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, absolutely, that does make a difference. I think that there's something about vulnerability that attracts people. There's something about a real story that attracts people. You know from my background, I've worked with, guys in some really tough situations, some really tough crisis situations that I wouldn't wish on anybody. And I've had to learn a few things in those situations to genuinely want to help those people. But I got used to telling my story. It became quite a normal thing for me. When I've done stuff in the workplace, I've sat with groups of lads and said, right, okay, we're going to start talking about suicide, and we're going to talk about medication, and we're going to talk about, excuse me, counselling. And you can see people dropping in the chairs. But as you talk about it and normalise it, that becomes something that actually you give license for other people to talk about. And
that's key word, normalising it.
It is. And I think because I think that first 4 weeks when I realised I didn't need to be somebody else, I could just be this lad from Burnley with a heart to want to help people. That became, for want of a better word, that became my secret weapon.
Yeah.
Because it was normal. A lot of the people when I've done radio stuff, the response has been, it's great to hear two blokes talking normally about mental health. I've done radio shows where people have popped in like fun stuff in and around and kind of gone, are you all right to do that? I've gone, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We talk about this topic alongside the normal stuff that you would do in a podcast or a radio show. That makes this culture changing. And I think we've created an environment where men are coming in, are very comfortable, are getting a lot of support, and are giving a lot of support as well. There's a lot of things that we talk about in terms of gratitude. Being able to do something for somebody else is a great thing. Most blokes are quite practical, not wanting to be totally stereotypical. So to be in a space where you come out with some practical stuff is massive. And I think, again, that's the strength of Roast and Toast. You come in as you are. There's no business cards. There's no labels.
No.
We don't ask anybody what they do as a job. We've had doctors in, we've had bankers in, we've had graduates in, we've had wellbeing experts in, alongside sole traders, people that aren't in business. And everybody comes in because they can all contribute something, because everybody's got a story.
That's right.
A personal experience.
They have. So I think, it's powerful concept and it works. So how can you get this from being a group of 20 people every week to take this into businesses? Because really, to make that culture change, that's what needs to happen, isn't it?
Absolutely. So we have a model that everything for a business needs to be specific for that business. What we'll put into a construction business will be different to what we put into creative. So everything that we do starts with Roast and Toast. Roast and Toast is our open invite. It's a free event. It'll always be a free event. The more people that come in, the bigger we'll grow it. From a sales point of view, it's the sales funnel at the top. If people are coming in, within 2 or 3 weeks, they start to get the heart of what we do as a business. Now, we'll be a business that some businesses love, and I know some people, we're a bit Marmite, we're going in with a way to do this that we believe is the right way. And if a business is looking for a tick box exercise, or they want to, train Barbara in HR to do mental health first aid, and that's all they're going to do, we aren't the business for them.
It's not you. No.
So we start with a heart finder. That's exactly what we do. Our offer to a business is, we'll come in and talk to you about your people, because that's where we're going to start. They are your biggest asset, and if you invest in them genuinely, they will make you more money, and they'll talk about your business more positively, and they'll be your best marketing on the planet. But we're not doing it to make money. We're doing it so that they can thrive in your environment.
Yeah.
We start with this heart finder. Our models around architecture randomly. When you talk about well-being, people think floaty and fluffy. And when you talk about mental health, they think clinical and ill. Now, don't get me wrong, that's what we do. They're the topics that we're talking about. But this architect model basically encourages businesses to build somewhere where they are proud to call home. So as you would do with any business, we come in as the architect and we help you create the strong walls where they need to be. And we help
yes.
you create the structure that needs to be there. And then we help you bring in the experts for what you need.
So you're helping them to lay the foundations then,
Absolutely.
creating that safe space, that safe environment.
100%.
Because I think, you know, there's definitely been a kind of evolution of mental health and well-being education, I suppose, hasn't there, over the last few years, and people are like, right, I get it now, I know why it's important, and we're doing some things to educate people on their mental health, and that's brilliant, you know, that businesses are doing that. I don't think many have taken it to the next stage now, like you are doing with, well, actually, let's be open about our mental health issues and let's talk about them to each other.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, what we're talking about is a sustainable model. You know, it's the worst business plan on the planet, but at some point we want to leave, Liz, because if you keep paying us to do the same thing year in, year out, this isn't culture change. So, we bring the experts in, as you would do with your house bill. You know, you bring your plumber in, you bring your electrician, but at some point they leave. And if your kid draws on the wall, you don't bring your painter and decorator back in, because you've learnt some tools and techniques to do some stuff to help manage the space that you live in. But if you have a leak or you have a crisis, you bring your plumber back in. And that's the same. You know, we're not doing this one workshop and then running away.
No.
We're hand-holding for as long as you need us. And if like with your house, if you have the crisis, the experts are still there. And if you want to expand and grow, we can bring the experts back in. But eventually we want to get to a place where you're living in this sustainable structure that you call home, something that you talk about as you would do with your own home. You bring your neighbours in. So we're talking about clients and being an example business in and around well-being.
Yeah.
And you start to interact with your community as you would do with at home. And it's just such a logical model that I think businesses, you know, and every business, that journey will be different. We're very much about embedding culture. You know, we're not going to come in and do 4 sessions and then leave you. This is over time. You know, we want to create stuff where
be a partner, isn't it?
It's a partnership. It's a relationship. It's about educating people that, you know, we're not looking to create a load of experts. That's not how we work. But we need to know where the experts are. You know, we know that at the point where mental health is hitting businesses, it's usually veering towards the crisis point. So we want to look at prevention, and we want to look at how we start to normalise the conversation so that if people are struggling, our model's really simple. We give tools and tricks to look after yourself. So we start with the I, we then work on the we, the person that sits next to you, because you know them, you know how they left on a Friday, how they came back on a Monday, you know the family, you know them probably better than your boss does. And then if we're doing okay, how do we look at the us? How do we look at wider world? How do we look at community? How do we look at other things that are going on in our families? You know, if your kid's getting bullied on social media, that's your worry at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning.
It is 100%.
If we can do something to help that, great. And for many businesses, you know, at the point where someone needs clinical care or they need some professional support, which we're not ignoring because that happens, then that business can't do a lot about that care, but they can create a better environment for that person to come into. So
we all always feel better for talking about it, don't we, to people? And sometimes it's just having somebody there that can listen.
It is, and it's not one size fits all. So if you've only got 2 people in your well-being team and they don't relate to somebody that's going through some stuff, they're probably not going to talk to them, however educated they are, however nice they are. If that's not a relationship, that you know, you can have all the great EAP stuff in the background and all the gym memberships and all the 25% off this and all the links to counselling, but if we've got a gap in this middle of people not having the conversations or not going into those support things because they feel it'll affect their future employment opportunities or, you know, pay rises or all these kind of things, then you're spending a lot of money at this end and not guiding people through the process.
Absolutely.
And you can save, in the nicest fashion, you can save a lot of money through talking and conversation
to people,
to the right people. And it doesn't have to be in the workspace. That's the great thing about this.
Dave, where have you grown? So from your learning for your own personal well-being and looking after yourself, what are some of the things that you do now that that help you?
I- there's so many, Liz. There's so many. I think the thing that I've learned massively is to get a good team around you. That I need different, and I've said this a few times in Roast and Toast, I need different people at different times. Some days I can manage the stuff that's going on, and I'm not talking kind of serious kind of anxiety or X, Y, and Z. I'm talking about the day-to-day stuff that sometimes comes in, the times when I just need to go, you're all right at this, Dave, you can do this. Sometimes, however many times I say that to myself, I don't believe myself, and I need somebody else to tell me. But you don't want the same people. So I've kind of got this backup team. I've got people that'll kick me up the backside. I've got people that'll give me a cuddle. I've got people that'll practically give me some stuff that I need to do. And they're professional people, but they're also just my mates. And what it's done is, I mean, we have something called the 6+ model. It's the underlying thing of what we do as Mindsight. And I've made that kind of my mantra, I guess. You know, our interactions with every person, we encourage them to go and have 6 conversations, positive conversations, either about what we've talked about to them, or to open themselves up to 6 friends and say, you know, I'm not doing great, or if I'm not doing great, have I got license to come and have a chat with you? And vice versa. If you're not doing great, come and have a chat to me. So we deliver this on a Friday morning in a workplace to 20 people. They all go out to the pub on a Friday night with 6 mates and all have those conversations. All of a sudden, we're starting to make a difference on a wider scale.
If we can get that to spread better than coronavirus, then
absolutely
we're on to something.
We've said that. We've said that we're a positive pandemic. That's what we're talking.
A positive pandemic. I love that.
But there's this thing called the 6 degrees of separation, which basically says that you're 6 separations from anybody on the planet. So I kind of went, right, I don't like separation. Let's call it 6 degrees, 6 connections of care. That's more important.
Good.
But technically, you can help anybody on the planet in 6 conversations, which I love. But you might as well start with the people around you.
So what are the 3 things then, what we should go away and do? So if we want to, you know, start creating this positive pandemic and creating a better culture, not just in our businesses, but, you know, with people around us, with those 6 people, give us your top 3. What should we do?
3. First and foremost, be kind to yourself. You know, you can be so, and I'm this to an absolute T. I'm my worst critic. And I think when we say be kind to yourself, we're talking about being kind about what you're going through, you know, about where you're at, about the place that you're in, but be kind in that situation. That's a biggie. Like I just said, it's not a solo project. This you other people are going through the same things as you are, and I think once you get that understanding, that adds a lot of power. You know, this isn't something that makes you weird. It's not something that makes you different. It's something that a lot of people are going through a journey on a day-to-day basis. And I think
you're not on your own then, isn't it? You're not on your own.
Yeah, and I think that's where the backup team comes in. You know, that could be family, it could be friends, it could be professional help, it could be a conversation with your GP. But if you are able to do that, that's a start for 10, because you've always got license then to bring somebody in on the days you're not doing great. And on days you are doing great, bring them in and have a conversation about how great you're doing, because that does you the world of good as well. You know, this is not just a negative team. This is a team of backup and support and being your biggest champion and being your biggest holder up when you're not doing great. That's what team's about. And I think as there's so much stuff floating around in the world of well-being and mental health at the present moment of time, the hints, the tips, all this stuff, you know, all this white noise, I think I would put down as my 3rd tip, find the things that work for you.
For you, yeah.
To give yourself, you know, space is such a valuable thing. For some people, you know, it might be coming to Roast and Toast. It's an open invite to anybody. Please come along and give it a try for 1 week. It might be the thing you need. But breathing exercise might be the thing you need. There's millions of those out there, but different ones work for different people. mindfulness, meditation, yoga, going out for a walk, you know, getting off the laptop and going outside. But
this is just your clever way of getting like even more tips in there, isn't it?
absolutely.
Third tip is all of the tips.
All
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the tips, but
All of the tips, but pick what's right for you.
Yeah, and the honesty of it is, if it stops working for you, try something else. It doesn't mean you failed.
Yes.
Sometimes some things work for a certain period of time, but I've, you know, we talk about toolkit a lot. Have this toolkit of things that you can pick up for different situations that will help you, and ask other people about it. You know, that's the great thing of roasting toast. Tips coming galore from other
definitely
people.
and I agree with that, because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for you. I know people who thrive on meditation, and I've tried that, and I really struggle to just sit quietly in my head. And I think that's the whole point of it, isn't it? Like, it's to help you with that. So that's a work in progress. But for me, going for a walk with the dog and just being, and there's that whole 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, isn't there, of looking for 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, and all of the senses. And it's just about grounding yourself, I think, because there's so much going on. It's
the stopping and the pausing and the breathing. And whatever you go for that makes, you know, that journaling for people is the thing that they do. You know, giving things back is the thing that people do. But it's having that space where you just get yourself back and just, as with anything, give yourself some breathing space and go, right, okay, this is where I'm at. We're in the moment. However that works, go for a 10-mile run or go for a 2-mile walk.
Yeah.
Or do some meditation, whatever it is.
Or listen to a podcast.
Or listen to this podcast, because it won't do you any harm at all. Absolutely.
There's so much content in there, Dave. You know, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. And just quickly, your contact details again for anybody who's listening wants to get in touch.
So the mindsight.org.uk is the website. Mindsight Connect is our social media platform. And if somebody wants to drop me an email, it's just connect@mindsight.org.uk.
Dave Scholes, thank you very much. It's been a privilege to talk to you today. Thank you for sharing. And I think, you know, early next year we'll be chatting again, because I know this story is going to continue. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Les.